My anger, it's funny because there's always this like negative association with anger,
Yeah.
but it's because we've defined it as anger, right? And
But it's energy.
Exactly. I still have that feeling, but it's just different now. It's like fire, right? It's like a fire within me, and I'm doing things with that right now. So the old me wasn't developed into who I am today yet. You know, you can't go to prison and be a nice guy. You can't go to prison and be too giving. You can't go to prison and cry. And so in that world, anger, that fire served me a lot of ways for survival. What I knew was intellectually that is when I felt that anger, I needed to allow that anger in some aspect take over my mind, because mentally it doesn't make sense to attack this person, because then I'm going to lose everything I have, all my little privileges, and go to the hole. Logically it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But you don't operate out of logic in prison. Sometimes anger, the whatever it is, has to push through the logic. In prison I had to do that to survive.
Carlos, Mark Twain said, anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to do anything on which it is poured. You spent years in an environment where anger was currency, where it was survival. What does this quote mean to you now? And when did you first realize that your anger was destroying you from the inside out?
Yeah, it means that anger hurts you more than it hurts others. So as much as a person is angry and expresses that anger to others, whether it's through verbal or physical violence, or, you know, even just the energy of anger, it affects people, obviously, but it hurts you more to your soul than anything else, right? So that's what I got from that, and I totally agree with it. When I was angry before, way back when, my old life, you know, I hurt a lot of people, and I know that it impacted them a lot, maybe for life.
Yeah.
But what it's done to me is so deep, right? It's so deep that like I have to spend the rest of my life working on it.
Yeah.
You know, and so because when you if you look at it like this, the person you are today, you know, if you're young or if you're going through something and you're not working on healing and bettering your life, the person you are today is operating in a way that affects people in a negative way. It's affecting you as well. 10 years from now, when you look back, you're going to have to still live with all that in some sense. And so I think that the most important thing that anybody could do is to do the work on themselves.
Right.
Because it'll affect everybody around them if they do in a positive way.
Let's start at the source then. When you were young, when your father left, when you felt abandoned and powerless, what did anger give you that nothing else could? How did it become your armor, your weapon, and eventually your prison?
Yeah, anger, drawing into anger when I was in the streets, when I went to prison, and you know, when I was in an environment where violence and anger is actually something that people are moved by, meaning that if you're an angry person, people know to stay away from you. Or if your anger channels into acts of like shooting people and fighting people and hurting people, people equate that with some level of like respect, right? It's this false respect. So for me, entering that world, all the anger that I had developed from my father and many other things, I was channeling it in all of the ways that would help me to find footing in that life, which is gang life, criminal world, prison. And it helped me survive. It helped me, like you said, put on this armor. And that armor was like a protection.
Yeah.
Because people know if you disrespect him, he's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And so when you have that association, right, that guy's, and it's not like I was angry walking around angry. I was never like that.
Yeah.
Like I was always very, just like cool,
Yeah.
I was like, but I can go there.
Yeah.
And I think I can get angry and then react on it. That was how it was before. And so when that was connected to that, people was less likely to test you, was less likely to try to do something to you, to disrespect you, because they know you're capable of generating that anger into something bigger and not just accepting it or holding it in. So much of my anger I was releasing in all the negative ways, holding a lot in too, but a lot of it I was just releasing into the things I was doing, the acts I was committing on the streets and in prison. It was like it was coming out. So the real hard part was when I made the transition, because when you're angry and you're living a destructive life, that anger is coming out all kind of ways.
Right.
When you're healed, you really don't. You know how to manage your anger, right? You're not letting it overcome you. You manage it. You don't let it get out of control. But when you've made that shift, that middle point, that was hard, right? Because the old you is like, I'm going to go hurt people and get my anger out in that way. And you're not evolved enough to handle it and manage it. So that's a pivotal point. And that was I reached that in the hole, in the solitary housing unit. And it was so difficult. And I was finally tested when I got out of solitary, when I actually had, one of the biggest tests of my life, which was having to go through an attack, right? Being attacked, and then not grab that anger and go retaliate.
Yeah.
But first time ever actively processing through that and getting through that. So that was a big deal. So that's the most difficult thing when it comes to anger.
Yeah. In the environment you grew up in and later in prison, anger was often seen as a strength, as you just described. It was respect. It was basically survival, especially in prison. Can you describe a moment where your anger served you, where it protected you or gave you power? And when did you first realize that same anger was also your greatest liability?
Yeah, I think my anger, it's funny because it's like there's always this like negative association with anger.
Yeah.
But it's because we've defined it as anger, right? And then,
But it's energy.
Yeah, but exactly. It's more, that's why I'm saying it's not really anger, because I still have it. I still have that energy, right? Like I still have that feeling, but it's just different now. You know what I mean? It's a different feeling. It's like fire, right? It's like a fire within me, and I'm doing things with that right now. So the old me wasn't developed into who I am today yet. The anger, that energy, that fire was conveyed in the world that was my reality, which was filled with where violence rules. It's not, you can't go to prison and be a nice guy. You know what I mean? You can't
it's not
go
going to serve you well.
you can't go to prison and be too giving. You can't go to prison and cry. You know what I mean? So you can't really compare it to society in the world and prison. It's two different worlds.
Yeah.
And so in that world, anger, that fire, served me a lot of ways for survival. So many different ways.
Yeah.
When somebody that I know, okay, so if somebody disrespected me, right? And they did. I've been tested many times in prison, disrespected, because everybody's going to be tested.
Yeah.
If I was like, okay, I'm angry, and I just held it in, and I went in my cell and I was like, I'm so angry, and I punched the wall, that doesn't mean anything. You're actually makes you worse. It makes you look more, you're going to be more likely victimized.
Yeah.
So intellectually, I knew my surroundings. Intellectually, I knew what I needed to do. It's not rocket science. You go in there, you realize that, okay, I might have to hurt somebody to survive. Somebody might try to hurt me, and I have to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I knew as intellectually that is when I felt that anger, I needed to allow that anger in some aspect take over my mind. Because mentally, logically, I'm like, it doesn't make sense to attack this person, because then I'm going to lose everything I have, all my little privileges, and go to the hole.
Yeah.
Logically, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
but you don't operate out of logic in prison. Sometimes you have to, that the anger, the whatever it is, has to push through the logic.
That's interesting.
And so in prison, I had to do that to survive.
So you were playing a role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all playing roles. We wear masks.
Yeah.
Right. We're all wearing masks. We're all have, even, it's so funny because we literally, the people in prison have these fake names that they've given themselves, and masks, meaning tattoos on their face and everywhere as masks, because you have to become that.
Yeah.
Right. So
you have to appear
hard. And it's all operating out of fear because you're not being your true authentic self.
Yeah.
You have to hide in this shell, and then I'm tough and I'm doing all this. And it's not really that. It's like you're still in so much fear all day.
Yeah.
And when I saw that and I identified that, I started to look at men who were, tatted up, had stabbed people, were in there for gruesome crimes. All that. I started to look at them like with compassion because I knew that they were in fear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was too.
Yeah. There's a difference between suppressing anger and transforming it, which you just touched on earlier. In solitary confinement, when you had nowhere to direct that rage, no one to fight, no outlet, what did you do with it? How did you begin to the process of alchemizing that raw, destructive energy into something else?
Yeah. It was always finding new things and finding things that were very, in some way, intimidating for me and generating it there. So working out, for example, you go to prison, mandatory workout. So you go in there and it's not even like somebody has to force you. You just know, okay, you're looking around every day on a prison yard. Everybody has their shirts off. All they've been doing is working out.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need to freaking work out to survive. Like, look at the people I'm around. Yeah. Right. So that's one way, right? Is like, okay, for me going in, I wasn't working out when I was out in the free world. I was running the streets as a gang member, doing drugs and crime and all that. So I had to immediately get into this mindset of working out consistently, which was uncomfortable, right? And then especially the workouts we did, it was like extreme, pushing yourself. And through that, I was able to, that anger I would feel, I would hold on to it, go do it, and I would hold on to it, go to the yard and work out. Or if I was in my cell, I would just work out. And I was able to start understanding my body and my mind and how, if I'm angry, I can work out, it'll help. It won't completely just get rid of it, but it's going to help. So I started to learn myself. And then when I went to the SHU, I started to understand that, okay, working out is one aspect, but also reading, the anger, subsiding it, overcoming it by replacing it with things that bring me joy. Mm-hmm. So reading a story of something beautiful, an experience, visualizing, meditating, those are the things that help me to cover that anger, to put it away for a while.
Yeah.
And so and in some way, energy, it all transmutes, it transmutes back and forth. So it's like the energy out that I was giving toward that anger, the anger I was letting out was going into other things.
Yeah.
And so I started to learn that. It was a process that took a while for me to understand that, because I needed to understand myself, my body, my mind, how I operate, and then I could start to find ways to fix that.
Yeah.
So
you touched on working out. I know in your books you focus on this a lot, the power of working out and routine, working out as part of your routine. Do you still utilize that as a modality to deal with anger or negative feelings?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now I'm getting to a state, and it's very exciting. I'm getting to a state where I am no longer feeling angry, but it's kind of shifted into being maybe irritable a little bit.
Yeah, that's huge.
There's, and I'm not to say that that's good. I don't want to be irritable all day, but it's hard. Running a business and doing all these things, you can't control what others do and how they, you can just lead, and still you're gonna experience some irritability because things may not get done as fast as you want them to, or how fast you would do it, or people are operating like you. So it's a whole thing you deal with. And so, or even if you're trying to do good in the world, getting out here, I'm thinking, okay, man, like I could get out in the world and do a lot of good, which I have, but there's so many barriers to do good. Like even just education is like everybody that knows LAUSD,
There's a
and
lot of
it's
red
not a
tape.
mystery, yeah, how much they like have these barriers to allow programs and things that they know work
Yeah.
into there to help kids.
Yeah.
But it's like, why? I don't understand. So that's irritating. You see, I'm getting a little irritated right now.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm not anger anymore.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like I'm at a point now, and since I've been working with Dan, he's truly helped me. I feel like that I'm like, I don't feel anger anymore.
Yeah.
It's more of like, it's like kind of just went away.
Yeah.
It's more like, because even if somebody does something, says something to me, and somebody that hurts me or affects me, I have so much compassion and empathy for people now. I can't get angry anymore.
I see it firsthand.
Yeah.
I see it firsthand. Yeah.
So yeah, I think so today working out is more of just for my health, right? I'm thinking about my health. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to lead by example. I like the way it makes me feel. It helps me deal with stress and irritability and all these things that we deal with. It helps with all that. And I actually, it's just who I've embodied. It's who I am. I've been doing it since I walked into prison and still do it. And it's just makes me feel good, operate more efficient. There's so many different reasons, but definitely no more for the anger.
Yeah.
I think I've moved past that.
So is it more for the well-being of like your emotional state or your internal state as well? Does it help with that a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like we've learned that, when you work out and you get into an intense workout, it's like a sense of meditation.
Right.
You get into this state, right? And then you push your body, and then that feeling afterwards, like a high, right? It's like you feel so good. And so, yeah, like, of course, why not? And it's a healthy dose of feeling good. It's good for you in all aspects, everything, your internal, your inside, your mindset, everything. So why not do it, right? Why not do it? It's like there's certain things you just know you should do. And you don't need really science and all these proof. There's obviously proof in science there that says it can help you, but you don't really need that to know that if you just do it and you feel it.
Yeah.
Because your body is going to tell you like, that's good.
Yeah.
Keep doing that.
Yeah. You've talked about the importance of awareness and presence. How does a man in the grip of anger, when his heart is racing, his vision is tunneling, and every instinct is screaming at him to react, how does he create that space to choose a different response? What's the first step he should take in that moment?
Be a star, as I like to call it, which represents, it's an acronym that represents stop, think, assess, and respond. So when you feel that anger, right, you're operating good and you feel good and you feel that anger, you just need to stop. You need to think, meaning like identify it, think it through, assess it, like assess what it is and also where it can go depending on the next decision you make, and then respond to that, take action on that. So I'll give you an example of when this happened to me. Just the other day, I was on a phone call and, somebody was saying something that was creating some sense of like irritability and this sense of just frustration. And I immediately was about to say something, but I remembered what I said, the stars, stop. Don't say anything yet. Just wait. Let them keep talking. Just don't try to jump in and say something. Stop. Think about it. Really analyze the situation, the person, what they're going through. Empathize, put yourself in their shoes, the whole 9 yards, right? And then assess it. It's like, okay, well, if I respond in this way, it's not going to make it any better, right? So what is a better way to do that? How can I respond differently? And then I responded to that. And at first, it's like, it seems like it's a whole thing, but eventually it's just like on autopilot and you just do it very quickly in the moment. But you have to practice it. It's like anything in life. You could, when I first started getting on stage to speak, I would have to spend a lot of time prepping to get up there. Right now, if somebody said, "Hey, do you want to come speak real quick?" Outside to these people, then I could just do it. It's like it's just autopilot. I know how to tap into that now. And so, like anything in life, when you're trying to do that and become a star and utilize that framework, in the beginning, it's going to be tough, but eventually it will become like just routine for you, a habit when you need it. So that's what I do, and that would be my advice.
As part of that STAR framework, would you recommend to your listeners out there to remove themselves physically from a space? Like, let's say it's someone else is getting really hostile or aggressive or pushing a red button. You know, there's those people that exist. Is it okay, you know, to walk away and take some time for yourself to just cool down and, like you said, assess as part of that?
Yeah, I think it is, especially in the beginning stages, because there's two parts to this. If you're just kind of working on yourself in those beginning stages, yeah, absolutely, you should remove yourself from that situation, right? That's actually one of the things they teach you in anger management. But once you like get to a point where you've done significant work on yourself, then I think it actually serves you and everybody better if you stay there and try to change the energy.
Yeah.
And like a guy like Dan, or, you know, what I try to do is like look at it like, okay, this situation isn't good, really. I mean, it's not like life threatening, but it's not
Right.
good. Let's say you're at a family gathering, Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
right? And you're there, and you know your family's in the kitchen arguing. There's some anger, there's stuff stirring up. People are talking shit to each other, whatever.
Right.
You can be like, oh, man, okay, I'm not gonna let this trigger me. I'm gonna exit.
Yeah.
One person, that's good. But for a person like me, or
Yeah.
like a Dan, or many other people that are there, you want to actually go in there and try to defuse that, because you're that point now where, like, that's what I'm saying, with wisdom and knowledge comes great responsibility, right? With healing comes great responsibility. It's on you to then go in and be a game changer, right? Not fleeting, right? Which in the beginning you may have to.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah. And I used to do it.
Yeah.
I used to do it all the time. Avoid certain groups on the prison yard. I would avoid that on purpose.
Yeah.
But later, once I really transformed my life, I started to seek those groups and go in there with a new perspective, a new energy, a new way to lead. And so I think it depends on the situation, but know that if you're in that state of having to leave, that's okay, but you don't always have to be there.
Yeah.
You can eventually be, like I mentioned before, in one of the other interviews you said that you gave to me, was you can be that person to make things different in your family and your life. You could be the leader to do things different.
The garden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah. So that leads me actually to my next question. The warrior in the garden concept is about controlled power, about being capable of great force, but choosing peace. How does your relationship with anger embody that philosophy? What does it mean to be a warrior who has tamed his beast?
Yeah, it's like, it's the warrior in the garden is who I was my last 4 years in prison. That's who it was. I was literally in a war, in a sense, in prison, right? It's like a war zone, because yeah, there may be moments of peace, but at any time you're at war and things could happen. So warrior in the garden is like, you know, going back and just thinking about it, is that guy who knows that he has it within him to be a fighter, you know, not just physical fighter, but mental, like being able to battle through the hardships of life and the difficulties of confinement and regret and all these different things, and manipulation. You're a warrior enough, you can battle through that. And not only that, but still have enough compassion and that nurturingness of you to hold a group of men in a room and be able to be vulnerable and be able to hug one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just side hug, but like real heart to heart hug with another man who probably hasn't had a hug in 20 years. You know, and it's like, that's what warrior in the garden is. You can be both. You can have both. And it's a beautiful balancing of the both. And I think that when you get there, that's truly what a man is. That's truly what a man should strive to be.
Thank you, Carlos, for a powerful conversation.
I just wanted to say thank you for listening all the way to the end of the episode. I wanted to just give a quick shout out to the sponsors for this podcast, in terms of like them allowing us to use their space at Legendary Foods, at the Legendary Studios. I want to give a shout out to them for that. They're an amazing product. Also, I want to say that if you're interested in a free PDF version of my book, Warrior in the Garden, 7 Rules for Men, there'll be a link in the description that you can click to get that. as well as to sign up for our weekly newsletter. And I'm always giving new advice and new guidance to help you get through life's challenges, and always keeping you up to date on the new things that we're doing at How to Battle and my company. And so I just want to say thank you for being here and listening. And please remember to subscribe.